Hey, so I wanted to share something that I was thinking about, which is how when I was a child I used to just be kind of depressed or anxious, I guess. I mean, this was like always my mood state. So it was kind of odd to me when sites about depression would say like, you feel bad, like compared to before, and there like was no before, so I was just always depressed. And I didn't even think that I was depressed because it would say like lower mood than before, and no site ever seemed to say like it's possible to be depressed since birth, which I was. But anyway, when I would be depressed or like anxious or whatever, just being unhappy, my mother would always say to me, there's nothing wrong, you have such a perfect life, you have such a loving family, you have like perfect grades in school, you have these friends, you play soccer, like everything's wonderful. Basically, like, who are you to be moping around when everything is so perfect in your life? And I also used to be like super tired all the time, which I now know is like partly related to being clairsentient, so I'm just feeling like way too much stuff. But then obviously fatigue could also be related to being abused and like having your energy like literally sucked out of your auric field by energy vampires. And she'd always say to me like, why are you so tired? Like basically saying like, what's wrong with you? There's no reason why that's happening. And obviously this is a form of like invalidation of how I'm feeling, but it's like also gaslighting and just telling me that everything's perfect. And that was the script that I ran in my head for many years, and I'm just realizing now that that script is still like kind of running in my life in a lot of ways, like saying like, oh, everything's perfect, why am I still having problems? It's like I'm still having problems because I still have CPTSD from like all this stuff that's happened to me. Like I just need to get rid of that script that everything's perfect, because it's not true, and it's not even true for normal people who haven't been severely abused. But for us, like, it's definitely not true. Like, things are definitely not perfect. And I was just thinking about how narc abuse is really like the perfect crime. I mean, the covert one, where there's no physical violence, there was no yelling in my house, there's no screaming. Even the criticism was extremely subtle. It was always backhanded compliments, or like my mother would always just say like, like it was so invalidating. She would just say after I gave opinion about anything, and it's very obvious to me that she was just like telling me that what I thought was wrong or stupid, but without actually saying it, so it's so easy to deny it. It's so incredibly perfect as a crime. Like, that's what I was thinking about, because there's no witnesses, no evidence. I'm the only victim, like, in my whole family. Like, I might be the only victim that my mother has. I don't know if she abuses anybody else, well, other than my brother, but he's a golden child, so it's a different kind of abuse. She has perfect public image, and it's just my word versus hers. And she's already set me up to look like I'm a crazy one. Like, my whole life I've always been the sensitive one, and I've always like had an imagination and stuff. Like, I've been set up to look like I'm crazy, or if I'm going to say anything, which I have, I actually don't know what my extended family thinks. I mean, I guess they don't believe me because they're narcs, but like, even if they weren't, it's like such a perfect crime, because she's already like planned for it basically. And it's so perfect that victims of narc abuse sometimes don't even know that they are a victim of abuse. Like, think about that. Like, how perfect is that crime that the victim of it does not even know that the crime happened? Like, it's kind of brilliant if you excuse how horrible it is. And I was just thinking about the Sherlock Holmes episode, the BBC Sherlock. So good. There's that episode where Moriarty tries to convince Sherlock that he's crazy by pretending that Sherlock hired Moriarty as an actor, and that he solves all the crimes because he's the one who's perpetrating them. It was super elaborate con job basically, and kind of the whole objective of it was to like make Sherlock think he was crazy and get him to kill himself. And clearly Moriarty is like some kind of psychopath, sociopath, I don't know, but somehow his character was like likable, it just because of his like sheer brilliance at his ability to do this, and like other people were involved in this whole thing. And I watched that episode before I really knew about all this narc abuse stuff, but it really gave me chills at just like how incredibly evil it is to do that to someone, to like turn their reality completely upside down. And it was false, like everything Moriarty was doing was a lie. To drive someone to suicide basically just for the fun of it, and maybe just to prove he could, like I don't really know what's going on, you know, in Moriarty's mind, but just to know that like that's actually possible to do that to someone. And I think the reason it really hit me is because obviously this is what had been done to us by narcissists on somewhat of a smaller scale, because that whole thing with the Sherlock episode, it was like in the media and everything, so ours is more like on the scale of just our personal life, but it's no less evil and it's no less damaging because your reality is still a lie and you're still being conned, and like other people are in on it. Like when your whole extended family is in on the fact that you're the scapegoat, they're all participating in that same, in the same con. So it's like you feel like you're in a bad movie, but you don't have anyone to like talk to like admit that, because like everyone's in on it and you're the only one that's thinking that everything's backwards. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about the Sherlock episode and the perfect crime, and just how it's like all staged. It still blows my mind how they do this. Think about how much energy they're spending concocting all this like fakeness. It's just, I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they're brilliant or if they're just evil. Obviously there's different levels of narcs, and like the Moriarty level is like the really genius antisocial personality disorder type narc. But yeah, it's really a perfect crime if the victim potentially does not even realize that a crime has even happened. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and thanks for watching.